You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
What's up, everybody? You did get lost this week? I think the biggest issue is they're not presenting it very well. Like, they're presenting it side by side racing, like they're drafting around the track and all that stuff. It doesn't really, I don't think of Atlanta as a drafting too wide all the way around the track. I think of Atlanta as, you get into the corner and you have, middle to off speed better than somebody to make the pass, not try and draft them. No. I'm not sure how this is going to translate into, like, we see what it showed on iRacing, but I'm not sure how it's going to actually translate into real life, because any of us know when we watch a new track a track get repaved in NASCAR, it becomes a one groove track. So they're showing two grooves here, right? So how do they create two grooves if one only develops? Yeah. So basically, what they're doing, if you're taking a picture, like from all the videos I saw, they're not moving. The walls are staying where they are. They're moving the inside of the track out further and making the banking steeper. And then what did they call it? The apron banking is going to be a little bit steeper, and the shallow part is still going to stay the same. So they're basically taking the bottom groove of what Atlanta is right now and changing to that as like part of the apron. It's going to be part of that angle apron that that they got, and then it goes up to the 28 degrees. But I think what they were hoping, and they could have, like, to be honest, they could have narrowed the front stretch here if they wanted to, if they were decide to go back to the way that Atlanta used to look and get rid of the dog legs. But if they get rid of the dog legs, then they would have to change the stands and everything like that. It'd be a bigger retrack configuration. They're trying to do minimal work here to come up with something. This is the second Atlanta race of the year, right? We already did the one the beginning of the season, right? We're on race 2. That's why they're doing it. So this will be for next year's season, right? I just think I think what they were trying to do is cause the front stretch to be a little bit harder to pass on the front stretch, but I think they were going to cause more wrecks if they would have narrowed it further, and there would have been more grass then too, right? Maybe because they see what is going on in the turns, where you would get, if it's narrowing coming out of the corner, you would have to try and make sure you complete that pass, but maybe that's one of the reasons they were trying to do it, right? Like, if you come out of the corner and it's like at Darlington when you go into turn 3, you can't go too wide there because it narrows up. You shouldn't be going too wide there, or the tunnel turn at Pocono. It's the illusion of you shouldn't be there together. They're gonna scan it. They're gonna have to actually scan it, I believe. If because it's changed. I know they have what their data they're making it, but I bet you they scan it after it's paved. Well, yeah, that's a CAD drawing. There's no bumps and stuff, right? Well, I guess Jenna Fry posted first. I guess what Steven Smith is operations and developments for the or vice president of operations and development for the speedway. I guess he said, "I say this in kind of jest, but when driver is happy with our racetracks, usually the fans aren't." We wanted to make this make sure that we're creating what is for the fans to want to see. And then Denny, is this in reply to Denny or no? Denny is replying to this. So Denny came up with all due respect, this same group of has reconfigured Texas, Kentucky, Bristol with 0 driver input. One of those lost a race. Other one we don't race anymore. And the last one we put dirt over it. But hey, what do the drivers know? Well, she tweeted it. It was a tweet. It was a post tweet from... No, she was tweeting. She's quoting Stephen Smith. Well, and this kind of defeats what Steven Swift is kind of saying here too, isn't what fans think, because if you listen to, okay, I mean, yeah, Junior is a retired race car driver. He's in the media part of it now. But when he speaks on what things need to get done, what they should do with racetracks, he seems to be listened to. Is he not still considered a driver? Like, I would consider Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s ideas decent ideas for things that he decided. Like, we didn't get a chance to hear what his idea about this week is, but I would be interested to see next week on his podcast what he thinks of them repaving this track and doing all this stuff, because he's wanted this track to stay unpaved.
So what do you think about iRacing getting caught up in the NASCAR politics of track redesign?
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
And some people commented, hey, it's still got to be better to use iRacing, because at least, you know, you're not just shooting from the hip. At least you're putting something on paper. You're actually putting a car on the track. You're actually trying it, even if it's virtually. But still, you know, to not get all the stakeholders involved in a track redesign, especially the drivers, you know, just so that it can sway the public opinion a little bit, you know. I think they made a mistake by not getting some of the drivers involved. At least have some, you know, get them a heads up and maybe get a little bit of input or something, and maybe some token involvement. Who knows?
One of the things they went for with this 550 package is they wanted, quote, closer racing. Do you hear any fans liking it on Twitter anywhere saying, oh yeah, that's so much cooler at the 1.5 miles now? You don't. It's not what the fans want. And so what are they doing? They're doubling down on that exact same approach. The best racing was when they had the low splitter with the Gen 6 car before they went to this giant spoiler. That was one of the best years as far as how they raced on the track.
I think the problem is each generation they've gotten away from. They say they're doing it for the fans, but they get stuck on an idea, and they can't seem to get away from that idea the further they go into that whole generation of the car or the tracks. It was like we said that we want to see more short tracks this year. So what do? They put all kinds of road courses on the schedule. Not saying that they had any choice or whatever. They could have maybe not had any chance to get to some short tracks this year, and it might not be coming down the road. But if they're saying what's good for the fans, how about you actually listen to the fans? Because they'll tell you exactly what they want. Yes, there's going to be all over the place, but there's going to be a census that they can find out these information, the right information from.
Well, I think we beat that horse pretty good. Let's move on to the next thing. We've got the Pro Invitational discontinued. Adam Stern had announced it on the Twitter page that NASCAR is informing the industry that they're killing the series for now, for the remainder of 2021, though it could return for special events in the future. We speculated that this could be because it's coming off of Fox. Also, just TV and ratings haven't been the same. NBC we're hoping might run some Coke races, but they just, I'm guessing they were probably not interested in hosting it.
Well, my guess is, Fox is done. It's NBC's turn. NBC, decided they don't have a place for this in their lineup, so.
Which, that baffles me with Junior being such, a big head in iRacing now, that, NBC isn't going to carry something on with it.
That's true. I mean, they carry all kinds of Junior stuff, his podcast and different things.
Well, Junior is big, but he's still not the exec. There are some guys over him that will go against his ideas.
I just think we lost the market when this, Mike, you'll agree with this topic, but when they kind of considered it a joke, Mike Joy wasn't too happy, was kind of creating it as a joke, and I just think we just lost the audience, and they saw that, and there's just no sense in, it also creates, these drivers have to give up their time to do it, so maybe they couldn't find, it wasn't worth the amount of the audience for the time that they're giving up for it.
Yeah, I think if from the beginning, maybe not last year, but this year when they did it this year, take a serious approach with it. Let's see some real racing. Let's have that tone like a Coke race is. They're not out there screwing around and having fun. They're out there racing. And this is cutthroat, and that's what we want to see. And you're right, with the Fox presentation, turning it into a three-ring circus, it was a little bit different. It came off differently.
Well, and you've got Mike Joy's attitude about iRacing, so it's never going to be what we would want it to be as long as he's involved. I think if they were to get someone else to fulfill his position there, just for the iRacing series, it would probably end up being a better production.
I would have liked...
Just the Coke series will be a better production.
Yeah.
I would like to see, this is my thought. If you're going to bring it back, I know they keep inviting Junior into it to race it. Why not get him to be part of the broadcast with, say, Evan or something to do it as, two things to go there, and have, Steve Letarte in it as well. That would be my idea of mixing the two worlds. Have Evan work with Junior in them, and you got the two guys that are passionate about the iRacing, that understand it, plus the sport.
Agreed. I mean, that trio in the broadcast, it would be a much more serious race. It wouldn't be cue the circus music kind of thing.
Well, would you go over to NBC to watch some Aliens, Mike?
Well, we heard about this from the creators of the Majors Garage. We now have Project Alien is the out-of-this-world offspring of sim racing and The Voice, a reality TV style show that aims to discover and create the next alien. Maybe you. You can apply on the Project Alien website. It's projectalien.tv. And I looked at this, and Joe Peak is involved. You may have heard of him. He's been around sim racing for a long time. There's also a coach from Brazil called Suelio Alamio. Boy, I butchered that one. As well as Brian Lockwood from the U.S. and Dallas Pataska. They have all these different coaches, and apparently they're going to film, certain people, auditioning for this event, as a sim racer, I guess. What do you guys think?
Probably won't watch it, but I'm curious to see who comes through.
The honest truth from all of us. It's hard enough following a lot of the events on here.
It's really tricky to keep up with everything, especially as much as I'm on the track, right?
So this is what it says when you click on audition. It says, personality, have one. Be passionate, be enthusiastic, be funny, be you. Camera, have a good webcam or an excellent cell phone camera. A big portion of the show will feature you in front of the camera. Make yourself look good. Decent PC. The rest of the show will be highlighting your progress in the sim. You need a system powerful enough to easily stream to Twitch or YouTube and look fabulous doing it. Apply in time. The deadline is August 27th. Any and all iRacing members are eligible. You must be at least 13. It is totally free.
It might be entertaining. It may be, depending on who ends up in it. It'll be cool. What was really entertaining, though, was this next video that Greg's going to tell us about.
It's kind of watching this. I saw this first, I think, which showed up in our list. A listener sent it into our page, and then I watched it off of there. But it's kind of like a letter to iRacing. Dear iRacing, with a cinematic view of how he interprets iRacing and sees it. Like, it's great to see how when someone is really good with their artistic vision, work on a video and edit it the way where he can tell a story with it. I felt like this GT series that he's part of, or the F3 series or whatever, I felt like I want to get involved in these races just because of how he presented it. It's whoever this guy is that did it, is from the channel Raceline Australia. They need to either iRacing maybe should work with him on making some videos with what they do.
Well, they should just shoot him some iRacing dollars and throw this up as an ad.
Pretty much. Or get him to make another version of this using all their content.
I think when I watched it, I felt like I'm watching a professional filmographer or editor, a professional editor, somebody who's been to film school. I mean, there's several shots in here that you've seen before in movies and different things, and the way he presents it with the dramatic music and whatnot, and the way it's cut, it's the way it's edited and put to the music, and it's just amazing. It's like watching an intro to a big film or something.
It was like they had the camera that's on rails that can for chasing horses or cars in chase scenes. They'll have a camera that's on a really fast cart, basically, that can move. He had shots kind of like that.
But even his wide shots were so dramatic with the way that they would either pan around or look. And I'm guessing he's using that new iRacing camera with being able to get down tight and then back. It can go further away the way he's using the software. But like I said, when you're make a video like this, the time that it's in his head and putting it onto the screen, the time that he must have put into this, it must have been a lot, because there's a lot of images from this too that he had to collect.
We're going to send Kyle to him to do an apprenticeship.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting some lessons from this guy.
I just
I
like
mean,
even
Kyle, you put up a nice video recently, but this
I
guy's got
appreciate
some
that.
chops, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's definitely. I got nothing on him.
but even he makes like there was a battle where he's like on board with the driver and it's like shaking and it's just a lot of these camera angles, they just make you feel like you're in the car or next to the side of the track and you can feel the energy of it.
Yeah. I definitely hit subscribe on that YouTube.
So did I.
We got a new league to present. Nitro Circus League Summer Series. It's here from July 6th to August 3rd, and it's going to be the Stock Car Challenge and the Pro 2 Road Racing. You'll have chances to win in 2021. You got this tour tickets or iRacing credits, and it's also some random prize drawings every week. So it's stock cars or Pro 2s.
Started on Tuesday. And apparently you can get involved and, win.
So this is a direct league right out of iRacing, or are they just promoting a league? Because it was actually tweeted by iRacing.
I think it's like a hosted event that you can get into. Like if you were to look Tuesday night in hosted, you could have like participated in this. That's my understanding of it. All right.
We've been talking about next gen tracks. How about the next gen car, Mike?
Well, let's beat it up a little bit. When referring to racing in the next gen car in the forums, Tyler C. Green asked, "What is going on with this car? Getting into the next gen Ford results in almost zero force feedback with settings turned way up. In the Sim FFB set up to 10.0. Power steering exists on plenty of other iRacing cars, and not a single one of them have such a numb disconnect type of feedback." Others echoed the sentiment until, as well in the forum post, until staffer Matt Holden chimed in and said, "NASCAR wants a low amount of steering weight for the next gen car, and we build the cars to reflect that change. I believe what we have is slightly stronger, actually, than the real car, but it is in line with the data and requirements for the car."
I really don't understand all these choices that are being made for these cars and things that are going on. I mean, we do have input from the drivers saying that they do like this new car, but that seems, you would want the feel, would you not, as a driver? You want to feel it as much as you could.
Well, they can feel a lot more in their seat than we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes you want to beat your head against the wall, some of the decisions they're making with this car. I'm not excited. I hope I get surprised and proven wrong. I'll just put it that way.
Another quote from staffer Matt. He said, "No, I wouldn't expect much change with this. The next gen steering weight is significantly lower than the Gen 6, and with the redesigned steering system, it will feel extremely different. However, enough time in the car and not switching between the two should help you start to feel the steering better in the new car. Personally, I've had enough laps in it now that it doesn't feel very light or numb to me anymore, but it did take a good amount of time to get me to this point."
So,
Now the question is, does this person have a G27 for their wheel? What's their Newton meters?
but the other thing is, are they discouraging people from running multiple events then by saying that? Like, don't run anything if you want this thing to feel better? Because, you know, how many different cars do you jump between, David? Like, you're going to get a different feel then. You're never going to get accustomed to it.
Yeah, I do. I kind of jack of all trades, really. Some people are built for that, and some people take one car and just hyper specialize in it. I get bored if I stay in one vehicle.
Well, and see, like with the whole steering input, with like Sim Experience, you can set it up to where it already has built-in profiles from their services, which is the wheel that I have. And when I jump in that next gen, of course, it'll say downloading, whatever inputs, whatever it is, and it'll say like 50%, which means it's only getting about half the data that it needs. And when I get in there with that steering wheel on a new gen, it's like I'm just throwing around a frisbee. I mean, it's light. There's nothing to it. It's not fun to drive that way, and needs to come up with something that's going to give it a little rigidity to make you feel like there's something in your hand.
I kind of attribute this car to racing back in the old Papyrus race car days where they had minimal force feedback and you just would turn into the corner and the car would go with and into the corner. The inputs is just, it's there quickly, and it's not really doing anything where you feel loose, tight, or anything. You just turn into the corner.
And that's exactly what this post was. It's exactly what Kyle was saying. Hey, we want to have a little more feeling in this steering. But then he just turned it on and said, oh, this is how NASCAR wants it. So that's why it's that way.
Got a neat event coming up, Greg.
Yeah, so we got, they're calling it the Stream to End MS. I guess it's the actual Twitter page too, is at Stream to End MS. So they're doing the 4 hours of Charlotte charity race on the 31st of July here to benefit those with multiple sclerosis, with the likes of Steve Myers, Chad Knaus, and Nick Ottinger. Now, is this the one where is it 4 hours? I guess this isn't like a team event. It's just actually just a 4 hour race for it. Sounds like it'd be a pretty good event, and these charity events are always fun to participate in.
I mean, it says, have you gotten your team together for the event? So it might be.
It is a team, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a team event.
Okay, so yeah, there is a team portion to it. I guess all they have is posted on their Twitter page here.
Well, there's a link in the Twitter to the page where you can donate. They've already raised $3,817 for this event. You donate, and then there's a register now. And it'll be July 31st at Charlotte. There are going to be 2 fast repairs. It's going to be the Mazda MX-5, the Audi RS3 LMS, Porsche 718 Cayman GT4, Club Sport MR, the BMW M4 GT4, Cadillac CTS, and McLaren GT4.
And it's actually on the Roval too, so it's the actual road course. Sounds like a pretty good event.
And so the Nick Ottinger, Steve Myers, Chad Knaus are a team that is highlighted on the page that they're definitely going to be in the event.
Yeah, y'all should try to get together on that one. I will be out of town. That basically is the end of vacation Saturday. At that point. Looks fun, though.
All right, how about a different event, David?
Well, it's from PAX Arena, and it's the Almost Pro. We talked about this last week, didn't we?
We did. This is a reminder.
So you can now join the PAX Arena Almost Pro Time Attack and attempt to qualify into the final 2 events. The top 3 are eligible. That should be American.
Top 30.
I guess. NA is what kind of got stuck on. I think that's supposed to be American.
North America.
America. Okay. The top 30 eligible North American drivers and the top 30 EU drivers in the time attack are going to be, when the qualifier ends, we'll move on to the final event, which is on July 16th. The 30 EU drivers are going to compete for €5,000, and North America will go for the $5,000.
Just get involved, guys. Go run a couple time attacks. How many people are actually doing this? I mean, if there's not a lot, maybe you can get it. All right. So let's switch gears to 24 hours of some track in France. There were questions on the forums. Again, I mean, iRacing hasn't, done their normal public post, here's the details of the event, like they normally would. Just radio silence. And so there's people on the forums asking questions, and other people have come up with answers. Like there's 3 session times. Which one are you guys running, Dave?
The middle one.
All right. Tell us about your preparations here and what you got going.
Oh, well, it's going to be me, Greg, and Dave again, as well as Richard Lucky is going to be running with us. I've already taken him out on the track, and he caught on real quick and is running the same kind of laps with us. He'll be a little bit inexperienced with, dealing with the team environment and the weather change, the light change, and so. But it'll be fun. The guy's fast. He's super talented. He'll be blowing me out of the water before the race is over, probably. But we've got a schedule set up, and we'll have, the schedule will change as things change throughout the race.
And do we expect any repercussions from this other software title and their cease and desist of using their name stuff with iRacing being radio silent? Are they going to get away with this?
They never. Sorry, David. They never called it the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Like, that's iRacing has pretty much covered themselves because we're running it at the track. Was it 1,440 minutes? It's not being called anything but what's listed on that title. There is no. It's just an official room. It's not the special event.
It's a part of a series of 6 races that go 24 hours. They already had a 24 Hockenheim. Then there's this one, and then what do we got? Monza.
Spa? Is it Monza Spa?
Spa and
Coda.
And Coda and Daytona.
See, I think the smartest thing that iRacing did was create that series so they could still do it. Like, it's basically, what's the way that we can go the back door, not get any backlash from it, and just run an event? Well, why don't we do 6 events or 5 other events that disguise it, right?
Yeah, you're right. I think it was the best thing they could have done. Now, on the flip side, how many iRacers out there are missing out because they don't know about it, because it hasn't been advertised, because people aren't talking about it, because it's, this thing. And I mean, that's a disadvantage for sure.
I think it's not as bad as you think it is, Mike, because word of mouth and posts like this where you're calling it the 24 hours in the post, but it's not really the 24 hours, bring word to it. A podcast I listened to that's a very small podcast for F1 drivers. They were talking about it on their podcast with their group and stuff. So they were talking about they were going to run it this weekend. So they because they even referenced that they had run the majors 24-hour one. So I don't think that we're not going to get the huge rocket numbers that we normally would get with it, but I think it'll still be a good event.
And also that means some of the riffraff that is really bad at those kind of races might not be around. There are about 14 24-hour servers in hosted right now. And speaking of hosted, for those of you who are listening live, at 9:30 Eastern PM, we'll be throwing up a practice server, practice for 50 minutes, qualify, and we're running a practice race. And I turned the damage off, but set an incident limit where you get a drive-through after 14X, because the only way you really get X's at Le Mans is wrecking, right? Or there's not very many off tracks. And I also set the sun for 8X, so it's going to start in the day and run into night over 1 hour.
Holy, you did. That's going to be a quick change, too.
Interesting. If I'm available, I might jump in.
I was going to say that the sun's going to fall from the sky and almost hit your car. It's going to come down so fast.
All right. Well, have a good race, guys. Represent, Tifosi well, and hope you guys have a good run.
Pray for David's pedals.
He's got new pedals. I'm not worried about them.
And I also actually know how to bleed them correctly now, as long as I don't follow your instructions.
That's okay. We don't have to listen to me. Just be like my wife. She doesn't listen to me either.
Or your kids.
Yeah, but that's a given. Hey.
Does Lionel Pernia listen to you?
No, because he's a winner. um, Evan Pasoko, I guess he's the announcer for the race for this, but he posted on his Twitter page the third, and what I was reading here, the third and final race of this international series, the NASCAR International Series, was won by Argentinian driver Lionel Pernia at Daytona Road, I guess on a late race pass over Mexican racer Victor, I'm going to screw up his last name, Barelas Jr. So good. It's good to see. I like these Xfinity cars on the road courses like that. I kind of think it's a cool event, but I never got a chance to watch this event. Did any of you guys see it?
Nope.
I caught part of it. It was interesting seeing same thing. A lot of the guys that are not the Europeans are not used to running this track.
And this is the finale, I think. So this series is over.
Which I hope they keep doing more of this for all these events. I would love to see a strict road course racing event like this. Kind of, maybe you have a roadside for iRacing just for one of the series, like Xfinity or Cup, as a 12-week series. Okay, I'm the only one. I know.
I love Xfinity at Watkins Glen and Road America, and yeah, it's fun to watch. So yeah, it might be fun.
3. It's a good number too. 3 or 4. Once we get up to 6, it's kind of too much. It's almost like if we suddenly started having 6 dirt races. It's not the original bread and butter, and it's why people got sick of. One of the reasons people got sick of mile and a halves is not just because of how the mile and a half races go. It's because there were so many of them on the schedule. It was there's so many of them. If Atlanta, as it was, ended up being the only mile and a half, and maybe Charlotte, people would enjoy it because it's at least unique and more separate. When you throw in 6 road races, it does lose some of its specialness.
I think what they should have done, and I agree with what you're saying, David, is, and I know they're always tied to having it for the certain ownerships parts, like that own a certain amount of tracks, where you have to run Sonoma and Watkins Glen back in the day because, SMI or what is the other group that owns tracks, but they have to get a certain amount of tracks in the year. Well, maybe you should have pulled those 2 tracks off, or pulled one off a year and switched it with another track, and not gone crazy with road courses like they did, and maybe tried the short track idea.
Look at how popular SRX is. They're doing everything NASCAR should be doing.
Like, I heard, I didn't watch last week's, and even their promotions are a lot better. Like this week, they're doing the promotion for the Elliots against each other for the SRX. But I heard that they were interviewing while they were driving around the track. Like, they were just doing different things. I know it's for fun, but they're trying new things because people suggest it.
Yeah, and when you have Alan Bestwick, calling it, and he's like the best announcer ever.
He's Mike's idol.
I love that guy. They need to hire him at NBC at Fox and get rid of Mike Joy.
Well, I got a question on whether or not iRacing needs to remove ghosting in pit lane.
Yes.
Robert Crisdell has put it on there. Can we please get rid of the pit lane where everyone drives through everyone? Why do we need it? So what if there's 55 cars in the server, just as part of the strategy of racing, and keeps the sim like real life? I used to race back in R Factor where you could collide in the pits, and it mostly worked, but considering first of all, considering everybody's used to it not being that way, it would be a nightmare for a year. And I can just only imagine the number of races that end up getting ruined because people just don't know how to actually drive down a pit road and stay in single file and not, I think it should happen, but I think it will cause greater problems.
When I first started iRacing, this was something that kind of stuck in my craw a little bit. It's a simulation, but then pit road is totally different. And so you grow to live with it, and we're used to it now, and so you never think twice about it. But when somebody brings it up, you're oh, maybe I need to rethink this. Maybe it is a good idea. I don't know.
A counterpoint is that as a simulation. Something I really became aware of watching the Nashville race when I listened to Haley Deegan's spotter for a while, TJ, and how he was really coaching her and really helping her know exactly which car had to run, which one didn't, so much more detail. And then when you come down pit road, you have a countdown and you have somebody else who's paying attention to whether or not somebody else is going to get in your way or not. When you're just a solo person on the sim, you don't know how long that person's been in the pit and if they're about to pull out in front of you. So the odds of that happening and not having a spotter or a crew chief to help you try to prevent that from happening is not there. So since that part's missing, it's not really that much more realistic to turn it on if you don't have all that extra help to prevent those kind of collisions.
I don't disagree with you there, David. It is about figuring out how to safely get on and off pit road there. For the most part, it's more of a new, you almost like it would be a new technique you'd have to learn to deal with, and I just don't think the iRacing infrastructure is built enough to do pit road. Like David, you do a lot of multi-class racing. They don't even have enough pit stalls set up to run that, right? So how would you pit GTEs with LMP1s or LMP2s? They all sit in the same stalls, overlap. I would personally like it just because it's more of a strategic thing for me. I just don't see it with iRacing software ever going that way.
I think I would like to see it like on the A license cars racing. So anything B or lower, then it is like it is now. But if you're going to step up to an A race, an A open, an A fixed, an NIS.
NIS is C class.
Well, yeah, but my point is you have the highest tier races in iRacing where it is collision. You can collide on pit road, and you have it just turned on for those races, not for the whole service.
I'm just gonna love seeing that C class. There were C class iRacing people in an IS race this morning in the practice server with like an 800 I rating. I just look forward to them trying to learn that on top of everything else.
They'd probably be fine as soon as if they come up starting with it. Like, who knows how long they've been in the sim? Maybe they're learning and coming up. It's easier to teach them when they're when you're first learning than us old dogs trying to go down pit road. They've been doing it hundreds of times, well, actually thousands of times one way.
Yeah. So if it didn't start until NIS, then they would be used to driving through until they got up to NIS.
Yeah, but they don't have to wait as long to get up there. You can get up there in one night.
I don't think iRacing will ever change it, to be honest, just because it's been this way forever. And what's the motivation to change it? And most people accept it as it is.
I can't see that category being added for David to protest either. I do not want to see that.
All right, new trend on Twitter was see who follows who, and specifically the NASCAR drivers. And I saw somebody put together a grid for the NASCAR drivers that showed who followed who of all of them. And it ended up being a thing on NASCAR Twitter where, Kyle and AJ Allmendinger were going back and forth. Hey, I thought we were friends. And apparently AJ didn't follow Kyle, and Kyle got his feelings hurt.
think Kyle had feelings.
So Dylan Connolly decided, hey, we need this for the Coke Series drivers as well. And so he came up with the same kind of grid, but with all the Coke drivers. And so kind of interesting to see who follows who. You can pick the name off the grid and go across and see which of the other Coke drivers that person follows or doesn't follow. Kind of and you can also see who's active on social media and who's not. There's a couple that actually follow all of them. And then you see other guys that with a lot of red, which means they don't follow very many.
Is it quite convenient that the only ones that follow everyone are the announcers?
Yeah, it seems that way, huh?
But some of the announcers don't follow. Like, are Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland, are they used and Michael Greeley used as like in race? No, they're not in race reporters or anything, were they?
So they're former Coke drivers.
They're formers, okay. I haven't watched one of those in a while, so.
We've got a topic about Dale Jr., don't we?
No, the Blackdale Jr.
Bubba Pollard. So former NFL player and new NASCAR fan. I don't know. Can you call him a new NASCAR fan anymore? Still, like
over a year.
I was gonna say he's got more experiences than I have in my 30 years of following NASCAR. So I don't know if he's a new fan anymore, but he's got his own podcast now. So it's called Pollard to Pollard, which is quite interesting how he did that. But I know Ally has been in a lot of works with him with a lot of stuff, so it's good to see that he's branched out to this. I have yet to listen to the podcast.
I got parts of it, and that's why I posted this, because I thought it was very interesting. This guy loves iRacing. I mean, and his enthusiasm is contagious.
If you're listening, Bernard, come on the show.
We need to send this to him so he can show up. But no, it's, he even had a post on his social media. You better watch out. I'm still learning, but it's about to go down. And I guess he's been figuring out some force feedback settings and stuff on his to get a better feel for racing around the track.
Well, if you listen to his little video he posted on Twitter, he basically says he hadn't figured out force feedback until now. So he's been racing with it all jacked up. He finally got somebody to help him figure it out, how to do the force feedback correctly, and it's eye-opening. And now he's like, yeah, I'm going to go run Atlanta and get a top 5. I'll see you on the track, boys.
Well, if you have the force feedback working right, it feels like you're in the car, right? And the closer you can get to that, like I've said before, yeah, Ty Majeski can run with a G27, but I know for me, because I don't have Ty Majeski talent, better equipment has helped me drive better.
I got control of my car. I did not have control of my car.
Yeah, check him out. He's a good follow for sure. Let's go over podcast housekeeping.
Hey, Mike. One thing before you go further there at the end here, something I just noticed, and it's probably going to hit before probably before the end of the night or maybe tomorrow. There's only 22 million laps until we hit 4 billion, and it was over like 400 million last week, it was 400 million last week. So I think we're going to hit it in the next day here to get 4 billion.
It's crazy. I mean, every night I get on, there's like 7,000 to 9,000 people online. I mean, before Corona, I mean, what was it? It was 1,000 or 2,000.
Yeah, this time of night, if there was no NIS or anything, it was basically that. But yeah, right now you're almost 9,200 people.
It's amazing, that it's quadrupled, in 1 year. So, very cool. Yeah, let's go into housekeeping. The Aftermath podcast, don't forget to get it. Don't forget our iRacersLounge.com. We actually just renewed the hosting for that website for another 6 months, guys. So, we're stuck with it. So you guys go check it out. We put a lot of work into that, Brian and I, putting it together, but it does give us great visuals to talk to during the podcast. And it really does enhance your experience to check it out while listening. Don't forget Spotlights from Midwest Simulations. They're still offering 10% off with the iRacers Lounge as the coupon code. We are in regular rotation at PMN, Performance Motorsports Network. And Fantasy. And Tony's not here.
Well, he's not going to be here all summer, it sounds like. So I guess
step away for a while, but I'll open up the Fantasy League stuff and let's take a quick look.
I think this is up to date here, Mike. It looks like it is.
Oh, okay. So we got the standings on the page here.
I believe this is the up to date one. But I'm just gonna double check, like you said.
Okay, well, we got Oh Baby 644 as number 1, Just in Time 9, 2, Res Dog in 3rd, Scott Old Boy 4, Mr. T Bob 5, and TGI Racing 6. Conklin Speedworks 7th, and there's Greg Frozen Cactus 8th, Jedi McFly 9th, and Trick Dickle in 10th.
Yeah, these are up to date standings, Mike. It was a tough weekend. I didn't even get a chance to watch the race, so I was kind of just watching on my phone quickly and then making the changes. So I didn't have a good race. I don't know how anybody else's went for it, but it wasn't the better weekend for me.
Now, I do want to, when I sort by race, Road America, Steve Llewellyn wins at P1, and then Tifosi's Tony the Tiger 2nd, and then Brian McRubbin is 3rd. How about that?
That's actually, Steve was on earlier talking about how that, or was it last night, he ran the NIS, and he was talking about that was his 2nd win in a row, actually, for the week.
Yeah, he won the race last week in Fantasy, I believe. Yep. Well done.
Yeah, see, I got a problem. I got to keep remembering to put in my picks because I've missed the last 3 races, so I'm sitting back way in 35th.
So your official nickname is Mike Jr.
Well, what I do is when we talk about it on the recording here, that's when I do my picks. Because if I don't do it during the show, I'm going to forget.
That's why we do it as a podcast, so you don't see the delay Mike has while he's putting his team in. He's doing it right now, if anybody's watching.
I am, actually.
That makes 2 of us then.
Well, let's jump to the hardwares. This motion rig is just, I got one word, wow. Except I'm going to say wow, because that's got 6 letters, just like it has 6 degrees of freedom.
And a major 6 degrees. I mean, you're not just talking a few centimeters of movement, right, David?
Like 20 inches at least. Yeah, maybe 2 feet.
That's why this rig is amazing. And it's like an 80-20 style. I don't know. I got to try to describe this for the audio listeners. Okay, so you got triples, and the mount for the triples, is kind of horizontal, around the back of it, but along the bottom, there's also 80-20 that goes across the bottom of the middle where the direct drive is placed. But then it kind of goes diagonal down to where the seat is attached and diagonal back behind the seat with 80-20 up into a point where there's 2 hydraulic arms that go down as legs. They're kind of like spider legs, and they got basically 2 hydraulic arms on 3 different points on this rig. One behind the left monitor, one behind the right, and one at the back of the seat at the head, by the headrest, basically.
and it moves a lot. The video shows a roller coaster ride, basically.
I was gonna say, anybody have about 300 square feet to operate that thing? The footprint of it is huge.
Definitely not compact.
I was
Now, I
gonna say,
couldn't figure out where this, what, can you buy this thing? Is it custom or what?
if anything, it's demoing how not to do wire management. It's a very, very cluttered room with what's going on in it.
Actually, I just found it. In the description of the video, it references the name Fly PT Mover. And I Googled that, and sure enough, flyptmover.com, you see a picture of it, and you can download the manuals, guides, latest builds, documentation. Apparently, you can build this yourself.
Pretty sure it's not a cheap investment.
I mean, if you're going to go motion, I mean, man, this is going all out.
What a week for Brian to go camping.
Those are really long, arms too, aren't they? Those are like oversized.
Well,
Well,
that's
the seat is suspended 2 feet in the air.
I'm sure Brian's probably going to send his wish list.
It's probably ordered.
Okay, I love it. I mean, it's different. I mean, it's not your normal motion thing that we look at every week.
Well, and then we've just got a regular old plain Jane rig with this next one, Greg.
Yeah, but it's got George Russell, who is an important F1 driver right now. He's probably one of the up-and-coming talents in F1, but he's showing off his rig. SimLabs EU posted this on their Instagram, and he's showing off his new P1X setup. I guess playing a Codemaster F1 game, the F1 game from Codemaster. But it's a nice setup. We've talked about this P1X before. There's not much more you can say about it. He's just got a single picture here of it, and
But that rim though.
well, I mean, I'm guessing he's using, I want to say, probably a SimCube, maybe direct drive.
Can't tell what the rim is. It kind of looks like SemiCube, maybe.
It's a good F1 style mini buttons and rotors with onboard display rim.
I think I got it right because that push just below the button there on the right, it says UBE, so I'm guessing that's cube.
I mean, if you're going to buy an 80/20 rig, I think SimLab P1X is probably the gold standard, right? I mean, a lot of people own it. It was very popular over last year, in 2019, actually, is when the popularity was real high with it. But you can't go wrong with SimLabs. I mean, there's another one I would trust as well, Advanced Sim Racing. They have a killer-looking 80/20 rig.
Dave, yours is SimLabs, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got the same one except in silver instead of black.
Okay.
All right, let's go to another rig. This one is Luso Motors Formula Rig RCC, which is the base model for a new line of products that will be set for sale in about 2 months' time. This particular setup is sold complete with seat and sliding structure and padded headrest. The rig can be purchased with or without monitor support. A 3-monitor support will be available as well. The structure is made using 80/40 aluminum profiles bolted to aluminum substructures, providing a very rigid and structural sound design. This design is originally with the ergonomically thought layout and uses our RCC seat. Starts at €659 or €759, including monitor.
Can we? It's a nice rig and design, but I think this site is more known for their F1 style seats. Like, they look a lot better than most of those F1 seats that anything we've covered that sits in the F1's style. These seats look awesome, and it looks like they kind of got like some GT style sitting up seats too, but that seat looks a lot more comfortable than a lot of the other stuff that they have if you look on their Instagram page here.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a futurized Lazy Boy or something mounted on there.
Now, how do you describe the design of this rig, though? I mean, it's another unique design where the center goes vertically up, where there's a monitor support, there's a steering wheel base, from the floor going vertically up, and then diagonally off of that going down to the pedal plate, and then going down to the seat plate, and so your butt ends up at the same level as the pedals, which I guess is how you want to sit if you're Formula One style, right?
Yeah, the base is basically, instead of a flat base that's just a pure rectangle, it's essentially shaped like a house roof, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe how it looks.
And it's basically getting the support for the monitors off of like two legs that, the two legs that come out of that support part and go up, and that kind of support beams that go across to hold monitors. I guess the triple would have a different support bar at the top there, but definitely an interesting setup. Do we have any prices for this anywhere?
It's €659.
It's reasonable.
If you want that kind, I want a GT style myself.
I just kind of like the way that's. I like that site's or that company's designing their seats for the F1 style, at least.
Let's talk pedals. We got new pedals available.
So SimMagic is featuring their P200 pedals. They're now available for pre-order at SimMotion. So if you pre-order them now, you can get 5% off using the promo code P2000 and place your order at the website here. It's us.sim-motion.com/collection/SimMagic-pedals. These very simple design, but these are nice hydraulic setup pedals that they have here from this site. I don't know too much about this company's pedals, but they do look like a very good choice in the hydraulic pedal range.
$789 is the highest rated ones they have. And it does have a hydraulic thing on the brake, or a reservoir, as you would call it. This is their premium version. You can get their cheaper one for like $100 less. I don't know the difference between them. I love the look of the actual pedal and the pedal face that your foot rests on. Kind of got that dimple look. But pre-order now. I mean, that's a good price, I think. And the other thing is this particular company, I mean, it started out with SimMagic being from Hong Kong, and there was no warranty, and, buy at your own risk. And now we have U.S. distributors, we have Australian distributors, we have European distributors, and they offer warranty. And now they have pedals to go with the wheels. And so I just think this company is really coming on.
I think some of the differences here, Dave or Mike, that I'm reading is their base setup has it's a hydraulic pedal with a 100 kilogram load cell, whereas the other one's a 200 load cell. So it's just basically, you're getting a beefier setup with the $100 more setup.
So if you're in US, you can actually do this pre-order at us.sim-motion.com.
So iRacing is playing around with this new thing called adaptive adjustments. David Tucker posted in the forums that he's put a hidden adaptive section in the app INI file that can be used as a way to experiment with iRacing and hopefully make it better for everyone. The first item they put in is the ability to change the color of iRacing or of the racing lines. So you can change the pit line color, which is the color that you see on some oval tracks. I guess I'm wondering if he's talking about the racing lines, like when you have the racing aids on, maybe.
Yeah, that's what he means.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes red when you're supposed to brake, or green when you're supposed to throttle.
Well, I've got the blue one on, but I've never seen the red green one. I've never had that on. So yeah, you can change those colors.
So, like, if you're colorblind, or if you have some kind of issue with your eyes where you can't see certain colors, this allows you to adjust those, so it can be more visible for you. So it's really for people with disabilities.
Which is nice to have the customability to, to help out with anybody that needs this kind of stuff, right?
And why not? I mean, it's probably an easy change for David Tucker just to put a configurable switch in the app INI, so if those kind of people need to make an adjustment, they can.
And the thing is it's using just the number bar for any color. So whatever color you want, it can be in the range.
All right, next up, a button box from ignitioncontrols.com, and it's the Ignition Control original Sandwa arcade buttons. They're light, precise, and super quick and fun to use. Comes with 6 rotary encoders with a total of 32 inputs, retailing for $226. And I like the look of this. I mean, it looks really high quality. Looks like it's a brushed metal box. USB coming out the side. Got the standard ignition, with the cover and a push button ignition, but a joystick as well for your F boxes, F9 box and so forth. And
I like the design. I mean, it's a pretty steep price tag for it, but you do get a lot with it. I just don't know. It feels to me, for the size of the box, it might be like too much in the box, like to maneuver around.
Are you getting an idea of how big it is? You don't really see the scale. You need something sitting next to it. Is that 6 inches tall or 12 inches tall?
It's very busy, like you said, yeah. And then how do you mount it? That every time somebody sells a button box, they don't show the back of it. I'm like, what are you doing? I got to figure out how to mount this thing before I buy it. I ain't buying it just because they don't show the back of it.
So it's 15 centimeters by 25 centimeters by 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters. What is that in inches, I guess?
Crickets.
Well, we could just let Truncane silent. It's 6 inches, so that is pretty compact.
I'm very interested in this, honest.
It looks high quality, right, Kyle? That's the appeal, right?
Exactly. It's got, it looks, rigid. It's not some cheap piece of plastic just kind of tossed together. It's actually supposed to be a metal frame, bolted together. Buttons look beautiful. The rotaries look good on it. The switches look good. I'm sold.
And it's compact. It looks like it's fairly compact. If you could figure a good place to mount it. I don't know about the USB coming out the side. I mean, the bottom might be better, or the back. I don't know.
It's always hard to mount things when they come straight out the back. I don't think there's a great place to always put a wire coming out of these things just because of where you want to mount them. But at least it's on the side where you can have it something and drill a hole and run a line through or something like that, or the cord through.
Well, what's neat tonight is we actually have a comparison for you as well, Kyle, with this next one that Greg's going to talk about.
So DSD Derek Spears Designs has their Mini Max. They're calling it button box controller, and it comes with 5 push buttons, 4 two-way rotary encoders, 5 two-way monetary toggles, USB connection on side, and it's priced at $119.75. It's about $120 US.
I'm gonna need a link to this.
It's pretty basic. So if you're just looking at the box, it's basically lined up all the, what it described there. It's got the 5 toggles, the 5 push buttons, and the 4 rotary knobs, and they're all in their respective rows, and it's just a basic design box.
So I would call this more of a budgetary kind of box. It's half the price of the other one. You got plastic involved instead of metal. But it is Derek Spears Designs, and they're known for good switches and everything. So I would say, if this fits your budget, this is a good one to get.
I missed the Apex guy that made some stuff. Like, I think his button boxes were $75 to $100, and these things the button boxes seem to have gone up in price. I mean, obviously they've gone up in sophistication of buttons and amounts, but this box here from Derek Spears, I think I paid $80 for mine. I have twice the amount of buttons and knobs and everything on it than this comes with. I mean, it's a decent price, but I just don't know, is it market value for that?
I really like the other one from Ignition Controls. I mean, because you got the joystick, you got the ignition, the big round red ignition, and then you got the ignition with the cover over it, the red plastic cover, and you don't have that on the DSD one.
And those are I call them like candy drop buttons too. Like, they're really nice. They're a nice button that's lit up too, right? So you're kind of getting what you feel like you're paying for there with it.
So guess what's coming?
Rain.
Have you looked out your window lately?
Rain.
No. Kyle, have you looked out your window lately?
Yeah, everything's calmed down here now, so no more tornado watches or anything like that.
What's coming is Windows 11. So many in the community have been asking questions. Will Sutton posted that he is going to put it on his other PC as Insiders Club member in about 6 to 8 weeks. In translation, it gets to be a guinea pig. And he said it's going to be a free upgrade, and the main thing will be how does it play with iRacing. As I look at this other little forum post, he mentions that it does say that iRacing or games will be loading directly into memory on Windows 11, kind of something coming over from the Xbox. And so what that's going to mean is instead of having to use the CPU to transfer from your solid state drive over to GPU, it can go straight from the solid state drive to the GPU and make for faster loading times.
Now, we had another poster, Powell Kazmierek. He posted on the forums that he does have the Insider's preview. It pushed 11 onto his computer, and he said that, quote, iRacing-wise, I see no difference, really. I tried to turn on the WMR option, which starts WM for stream whenever WMR portal starts, but it screwed things up. But in-game, I noticed no change so far, for better or for worse.
That's good, because probably the biggest concern is going to be, does the extra overhead cause everybody's computer to run bogged down?
Well, this technology, like you were saying there, David, they're trying to get more out of using these, now instead of we got memory with the CPU, but you got the better hard drives now that are, there's no moving parts in the hard drives. Everything can be quickly, transferred. So they've used all this technology on their Xbox this year so that they can have seamless transitions between things, where you can have one game running in the background and another game you can bring another game up and start playing it, and then all of a sudden go right back to the other game if you want. So this it seems like some of the stuff they've learned with that they're trying to incorporate into their next operating system.
Yeah, and just the way the computers evolved, the GPU and the CPU kind of having their different functions, they're finding more and more ways to just optimize the use of GPUs. I actually had a former trumpet player of mine. He went on into computer science and was one of the first researchers on his PhD into basically using GPUs to run all the simulations instead of CPUs that the supercomputer clusters are running. And they found a lot more efficiency in some of the GPU processing power versus CPU.
So maybe I missed something, but somewhere along the way, I had the impression that Microsoft was never going to have anything other than Windows 10. There would never be a Windows 11. That was their marketing, I swear to God.
I don't remember them saying that. So,
Well,
I'm not saying they didn't. I just don't remember it.
Maybe I'm talking out my butt. It could be, but Windows 10 is a one-cost purchase. You buy it once, right, and you own it.
Well, they said as we were talking about on that thread that Windows 11 is going to be a free upgrade.
Well, that's what I'm kind of getting at. Is this new product, as they change names, leading to a service type subscription for Windows? I think that's where Microsoft really wants to take this, where you're paying them yearly or monthly for Windows instead of once.
You mean like all their other things like Office?
Yeah, Microsoft 365 works that way. Their other products. So, I don't see it as the way they're going.
Game Pass for their Xbox, where you get subscribed to the games instead of you pay a subscription cost, and it's like Netflix. You're exactly probably right, Mike. They're going to move into the subscription era of things, and they're just going to update on the fly, and you're going to get all these things because you're paying for it yearly and then you don't have to worry about this your software ever being out of date or risk of losing an operating system, say like when Vista and Office and all them went away.
We will see.
We got one more rig, Greg.
Well, next up, actually,
You got a gyro first.
We got the old gyro view I'm going to bring up for the millionth time. I haven't talked about it for a long time. So for our newer listeners, I actually saw a forum post this week from Robert Valley. He posted up, he watched a YouTube video, basically said his driving view settings were all wrong. And so he went into the forums to ask, how are you guys running these settings? So when you go into sim options in the sim, on that front page in the lower left, you get 4 different sliders, and so everybody gave them their, what are the, what they run, what settings do most people run? Well, my settings that I run and I posted up were different than everybody else, and I call it the gyro view. But anyway, if you take the roll and you put it at 0 and the pitch at 0, neck motion at 25, and rotate with velocity at 100, that's how you produce this gyro view. I think you guys should try it. It allows you to see chassis movements visually as your view is locked to the horizon instead of the chassis. And you can feel that or see that chassis moving under you visually, the compression of the shocks and springs and so forth, or the tire itself. And so that's how you do it. So, Greg, David, I know you've tried this in the past, maybe. What do you think?
I have not tried it.
You have not, yeah.
I used to run it before I went VR. You don't need it when you're in VR. Obviously, your head is where your eyes are going is what you're doing. But this actually does help. What I found in the past, it helps you feel the car a little bit better with monitors, because if it's getting a little bit loose, you kind of can see it a little bit. I don't know. Do you still feel that, Mike, with the way the gyrocam feels?
Especially, yeah, with the rotate with velocity at 100, that's what does it, and the neck motion. And so you're right. As the car is about to break loose, you see it visually with the way this works. The other thing is I ran this well before iRacing released Dirt, and when they released Dirt, I didn't change my view, but the way it behaves on Dirt is pretty amazing, because the way with the rotate with velocity and the neck motion, and you're constantly throwing the right rear of the car out in the corners on Dirt and getting that left corner, left front turn down. I'm like literally in my triples. I'm literally looking out the left monitor when I'm dirt racing instead of the center monitor, because I'm throwing the car sideways, and because of the rotate and everything, it rotates my view over to the left monitor, and so I'm kind of looking to the apex, so to speak. I don't know. I think it helps in my dirt racing. It's really hard to describe, though.
Well, when I'm driving dirt, I'm always looking over to the right, because your car is, driving sideways, but you got to be looking off to the right to kind of, because that's the direction the car is going.
See, if I had these set default instead, I'd be looking straight out the center of the monitor on a dirt car.
And you also wouldn't, like, even at a track like, say, Bristol, it kind of makes you feel like there's a little bit of G-forces going in the corner, too, because if you were sitting in the seat, you wouldn't move when you go into the corner, and you kind of, the angles all change. It just helps you find more of the track with, especially in a single monitor setup. I've never witnessed it in a triple monitor setup. I just know what a single did for me, and it seemed to work perfectly for it.
Yeah, just turn on the settings I mentioned and just try it at Bristol, Atlanta, anywhere there's banking. That's really the way to tell, is get in the banking and see the differences.
I'm gonna test it out. Talladega tonight in the league race. Go for it.
You're not VR, are you, Kyle?
Not anymore. I used to be.
Yeah, okay, that's right. You're triples, aren't you?
Yeah.
And now we got a rig review. Now I love this one.
So iRacer Mike McCormick posted up his setup in, I guess, his nice little office he has here. I kind of like his rug that's behind his the rig here too, but it's an 80-20 rig that it looks like he's added on over the years here, building stuff. But he's got, does it look like butt kickers in all the corners? It's a nice setup. It's an energy seat for it. It's got a butt kicker on the seat. I guess a picture here of it showing his racing shoes. It's on a platform that moves, so obviously he can move it around if he has to. Nice triple setup with a fourth monitor up top for stuff. He's got his keyboard and his button box, and he's got a hell of a PC there that's liquid cooled and everything. It's nice to see this whole setup. It's a really nice simple 80-20.
Traditional 80-20 though. That's
the main thing is there's a shelf behind it. It is a little wider, but also there's a shelf in the back over the pedals.
For the computer.
Yeah, and
a big shelf.
That's a hell of a PC case too.
Yeah, I thought it was a printer.
That's what I did too. It is the size, if not bigger. It's almost like reminds me of a big faxing printer.
I'm going to do this just because it'd be huge to have that extra storage space sitting there behind the car, especially in a tight little apartment.
That's why I love this rig, guys. I think it's custom. I don't think I've ever seen this for sale. He doesn't say. but it's wide. I mean, it's wider than the seat is wide. Okay, so he's got 6 inches of 80/20 base to the left and right of the seat. So it's ultra wide, but that ultra wideness gives you that huge shelf for the computer behind the center monitor. And he's got this monster box that looks like a printer case, but there's room around the box too. I mean, on all 4 sides. I mean, you could see put down a coffee cup there, you know, and different things next to it, you know, because it's like a huge shelf above the pedals.
Yeah, and you could order some profile, even though mine's not that super wide, and add it either way. So I'm pretty tempted to go ahead and get those pieces.
So
and build that on there.
So with the 80/20, that smaller box is like the top part there. Is that just a smaller piece you ordered like that? Like it looks like it's a half of a bar. Like the width wise.
That's just single profile instead of double wide or triple
okay,
wide.
that's what it's called, single profile.
You just got the. He's got it jointed in with the corner joints in all the different places.
And the butt kicker, I want to point those out. So he's got one coming out on the right side of the seat and one on the left side of the seat. Again, that's that extra 6 inches or so of extra base allows that. But then look at how the pedals are too. I mean, he's got butt kickers on profile that are literally where the pedals are mounted.
He's also got one directly underneath the seat too in the backside. If you look,
I think he has 5 total. I think there's 2, one on each side of the pedal, and then both the seats, and then the one on the back.
And then the PC case. You know, when I was building a PC, I was looking for an oddball case that wasn't a traditional size, and this would be perfect.
Well, Bobby chimed in for us. It's a Cooler Master half case.
It is, okay. It looks pretty cool. Anyway, I threw this in the chat earlier today last night because I was kind of like, wow, I've been wanting to get a 80/20 or build one, and I like the idea of like overbuilding it. Like, let's make it real wide. Let's have a big old shelf for my computer and my other stuff, and let's put butt kickers everywhere. And yeah.
Well, how'd your race go Friday, Mike?
Well, let's talk NIS. I can't believe it. Road America, P9. I qualified P5, and I had lots of issues. One guy doored me to the wall hard. I had 1 minute damage. I was 13th going into stops, was 7th coming out. I had lots of self spins, and I actually had a drive through at 17X, but still a top 10 on a road course. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I wrecked out. I just missed turn 2. Broke too late, I guess, and went sliding out the track and never got it back. And in the process of overcompensating, missed again, and parked it.
I wrecked too.
And you were hoping for a good run, Greg.
Well, I was pretty psyched for that night. I was not having the best of races. I was still decent. I was going to try and get a good finish, and I wrecked because my VR shut off. It said my display cable came undone, which I don't know if it just was pulled on it a little bit when I moved my head, but the one that attaches into the actual top of the headset, I played with it a little bit and it eventually kicked back in, but I totally totaled my car. I had no idea where I was going, nothing. So it is what it is, and we moved on. I never raced there until the Monday night race again. I didn't even get up on Saturday morning to bother, or Sunday morning to bother racing there.
Somebody's put an equipment hex on us, eh?
Yeah, it hasn't been a great great time.
I did get up for the Sunday Open, and I wish I didn't. Actually, I was running really well, and I already made it all the way to the pit stop and was out on fresh tires, nobody around me, and got hard on the brakes coming down to turn 5, and the car just snapped to the right and right into the wall.
Okay. And let's move on to Atlanta. Wins the Open. David, P22.
Yep, lost the toss on the coin toss on the cautions. Had a great long run set and was going to be able to make it in one stop. But the caution came out right in that little window where I was still a lap down, running down the leaders. They were about 5 seconds in front of me. I was getting about a half a second to a second a lap on them. Caution comes out. So I had to start 28th in the back. After the waiver round with 8-lap older tires. I passed all the other guys that took waiver rounds and even caught a few guys that had the newer tires and climbed back up to 22nd. But it was racing clean and just with a horribly timed spin.
All right, and then Kyle, P19.
Any of you ever had a dream that was so good that anything that just woke you up was going to ruin it? Well, this was that race. Started out, I got a P19 on the finish there. Started P13 and snuck my way up to the top 5. Lap 33, I took the lead on a restart and held the lead for 53 laps. Pitted with a plus 4 second lead over second place. After the pit cycle came through, I was working my way back up the field and got taken out by a lap down car who bounced off turn 1 wall. That set me back 10 laps. Got a waiver around in Lucky Dog and was able to squeak out a P19. I thought I had that race in the bag.
Yeah, you were pretty happy there for a while.
I was silent.
Front. Okay, so I had a P24. I actually wrecked on my own about halfway into the race. Did pretty good up into that point, but man, just one mistake and it would get really loose coming off and you had to be real careful. I kind of wish I had turned the steering ratio up to 16. I think we were running 12 on that set, but I just felt like, I overcorrected on the wheel a little bit and that would get me loose. And yeah, so 1 minute, 30 seconds damage, but never really recovered from that. I ended up self-spinning a few other times. And I was kind of a weapon out there. In fact, one guy was calling me out after the race and telling me what a crappy driver I was. He even tried to wreck me after the checkered had gone by. He had slowed down, and I was driving by, headed to the pits, and he did a sharp right to try to hook into me, and I just went right on by. He didn't time it right. But he was mad. He sent me a private message later telling me how bad a driver I was. Gotta love that.
Most of those guys don't know what they're talking about.
I sucked. I did spin. I did wreck. It happens. And, and I've been running NASCAR racing for a long time. And, I wouldn't say I'm a good driver. I wouldn't say I'm a bad driver, but it happens. I mean, I came into this race with 0 laps. I mean, 0 practice, a set I've never run before. I'm not too surprised, but I had a lot of personal things going on this week, and I just didn't have the opportunity to do it correctly. Greg, you got wrecked from 7th with 2 to go.
Yeah, I had a race where I did the exact same thing you did. I think I called it right when I started the race. I'm pulling a Mike Ellis. I didn't qualify. I did qualify, but I used my qualifying to try the setup before we went into the race. So that was I ran like 5 laps in qualifying just to see how the setup felt, and then went into the race and just minded my business. I got in a couple fenders damaged and stuff from some wrecks, and somehow I ended up just making my way up to the front. And David, I know me and you you haven't had a chance to talk about it, but me and you were trying a strategy there in different, you were trying to go long just like I was, and the caution came out as soon as all the pit cycles were done, and it kind of screwed it. But I thought that was the best chance to try that strategy where we could have gone, a full tank and try to make it on one stop just to see where we would finish. And then by the time it was caution after that, once the caution came out, and I made it up to 7th, and a guy underneath me, he just exited the corner like I wasn't there, and basically just took my right rear and spun me down into the inside wall, and that was it for me.
That's the thing about being on the outside. You're at the mercy of those guys that dive down there.
And yeah, the strategy was just dependent on the caution not coming out or coming out sooner or later. If it had come out before I had to pit, I would have been golden. If it had come out just a few laps later when I had gotten my lap back, I would have been in good shape because I would have at least had fresh tires. Yeah, so yeah, I know how that works. I was the only one who got to run this afternoon, and about lap 20, I got caught in the big one. It had about a minute and a half of damage and was down horsepower. Not much though. It was running in 1985 on the RPMs instead of 2000, and I had a lot of left rear damage. I managed to get it all fixed though because there was another quick caution, and somehow still had speed. Probably could have had a top 5 or top 10 car, but with the inch damage, I was able to climb back, pretty quickly, get right back up to P12, and just couldn't catch anybody further up than that.
Also, want to mention Wednesday night, Tony Rochette, I think he finished 9th by memory. He did not write his results in here, so no witty comments. And then Stephen Llewellyn also ran with us, and guys, he was leading laps. He was up front leading, running well, and then all of a sudden he said over TeamSpeak, guys, I wrecked myself out. So, tough break for Steve. Let's move on.
We ran, yeah, so say, then there was Fast Track.
Fast Track on Monday, our Sim Racing League.
It's like half track. Nobody showed up.
Well, I couldn't show up. I had some stuff going on. Greg, you got P2.
Yeah, basically cruised myself around for. I think I led the most laps in that race, but the only reason I led the most lap is because I watched 2 of the guys that tried to hot lap the first lap, and one spun and destroyed himself in front of me, and the other one was watching in his rearview mirror as the guy was spinning and missed the corner and went into the corner, and that was our teammate for the 24-hour race this weekend, Richard Lucky. He went into in one of the corners, just missed it, and I think he fell back 15-20 seconds from us, and he still ended up winning the race by, I think it was 19 seconds by the end of it. So I only led until he came back up to the front, but just we don't have the speed that Richard does.
It did not take him long. He's real good. And yeah, so he passed me long before he passed you. I didn't qualify. I think I failed to qualify. I had to start like P9 and was, right after all of that kind of shook out, I got up to P3 pretty quick, and nobody was near us from that point on. It was you 20 seconds ahead of me, and the person behind me was 30 seconds back.
I think there was 13, 14 cars that started that race. And I think we had lapped up to 9th over a 2-minute, and it was only 30 laps, which was, thank God, it was only 25 laps. It wasn't the full NIS distance.
It wouldn't have changed the results at all. Nobody was going to run anybody down at that point. What bores me with the road courses, especially on the stock cars now, is just there's not strategy. It's just you just run your race and you either screw up or you don't. There's never any cautions that can occasionally shake things up and make somebody have to adjust.
That's the thing. Let's get some random caution involved, especially if at the league race we could do that, right?
I presented the app that the Matrix uses to Jeff, but he didn't like the idea of a caution at Road America.
Sounds like we might not run any of the freaking road courses if they had their choice.
Yeah, for example, they're not going to go to Chicago. They've already said if we go to Chicago. Indy? No, the Chicago street course.
Oh yeah, that was. I don't think that's ever going to happen. That might be on the schedule next year, but for this year, they were talking about Indy only being Indy.
Yeah, they were talking about running regular Indy instead of the road course, but they were talking. They said next year if Chicago's on the schedule, they'll just go back and run the oval.
Which is annoying because I'd like to run that, see what those guys can do. I don't think it is going to be as bad.
It'll be lucky you, me.
Yeah.
And Tyler in the wall.
This is the first race I think I've missed, but we really need participation. We need to recruit some other folks. And hey, if you're listening and you have nothing to do Monday, come race with us.
Well,
hit up Jeff Marble.
And it's good racing. Like last week at Pocono, we ran the full race without a caution. This week, obviously, it wasn't the best event, but the last couple of weeks have been like one or maybe one caution, two cautions at the most, and the racing's been really competitive. And I don't doubt it's going to be any different when we go Monday night there to do Atlanta either, because that'll be a fun race with these guys too.
All right. OBRL, the iRacers Lounge Aftermath Truck Series, ran last night. Congratulations, Josh Robinson, for winning at Atlanta. Steve Thompson second, Andrew Hess third. And with that, we'll go to final thoughts. David Hall.
We have a race. If you're watching live, come run the Le Mans with us. Even if you're not running the real one, just help us fill up the field. The damage is off, but the incident limits are on there. And if anybody's being a total jerk, it'll be pretty quick on the kick button. But let's go run a little hour race in the time warp.
Yeah, sounds like fun. Greg Hector's final thoughts.
One thing I didn't get to mention, when I was talking about the race that I did last night, I tried something different that I normally don't do. I took the virtual mirror off and went to the actual cup mirror for running the race. And I run a lot of, I run spotter lights and things like that. So I got an extra thing for the spotter for it. It was quite interesting to try and adapt to it in the race there at Atlanta last night, but I did have fun doing it. I don't think I'll be doing it for certain cars. I probably would suggest myself not to do it this weekend in the 24 hours for the sake of not being that guy who wrecks the car out. But other than that, I look forward to racing that race this weekend, hopefully getting a good finish tomorrow night, so Sunday leaves us wide open to race if we have to in the 24 hour and don't have to get up to do the cup race.
All right. Good luck with that. Kyle Pendergraft, final thoughts?
So I've been gone a few weeks. Glad to be back. I've missed all of you all. But I do want to give a shout out for tonight's race. The iRock Challenge Series. We are at Talladega in the trucks. We are down to 5 races. So the season's coming down to an end. So be sure to catch that. Right now, we have switched broadcasters. Once I get the information on the broadcaster, I will post the information up on probably Loud Pedal Gaming page. So if you're curious to watch that, I will post it there with a link to the YouTube channel. Other than that, everybody have a good weekend.
All right. Glad to have you back on the show. My final thoughts, back to my Russian shifter. I mean, I love it. We got it mounted up correctly. I've raced with it a few times, and I couldn't be more happier. It was such a good move. It really is a stopgap measure with all my wheel problems just to keep me racing. I couldn't trust the shifter paddles anymore. They always were crapping out during the race, so I've solved the problem, and I love it. So real happy with that. Other than that, just trying to get some races in. I'm hoping for a good race at Atlanta Friday. I need a result. I've had some crappy results. Real happy with Road America, though, with the top 10 there with 9th, to kind of turn that around. So I just need to keep that going with Atlanta and need another top 10. So that's what I'm shooting for. And, hey, we'll see you out on the track.
One last thing real quick. I just now got confirmation that is PTM Racing TV on YouTube for the iRacing iRock Challenge Series.
All right, we'll check it out. Later.